Hey, what's good, everybody? It's Cadillaktrackz. I'm back again doing another video. I got a question from another viewer, YouTuber. It was asking about 64-bit and 32-bit plugins and programs. He was asking, how did I open up the 64-bit version of Fruity Loops? And how do you do that if you had a 32-bit? Also about 32-bit and 64-bit version plugins we're going to talk about. It's real important that you know the difference between it when you're making music and that you have your computer set up. The first thing that we're going to do here is I'm going to open up, or I'm going to show you my desktop. On your desktop, you probably got an icon for Fruity Loops, something like that. I always keep 2 on my desktop. It's 3, matter of fact. It's a Fruity Loops 11, which is notorious, and then you got your updated versions. So I keep a separate one for 32 and one for 64-bit, and I try to do that with the programs that I use, like also with Machine. Right now I only have 1, but I usually keep 2 up there. And it's important because sometimes you want to open up a 32-bit, or sometimes you want to open up a 64-bit. Reason being is because you might have a plugin that's only 32-bit. That plugin might not open up in the 64-bit version, or vice versa. You might have a 64-bit plugin and it's not opening in the 32-bit. 64-bit is the new version. It just started coming out, I guess, a few years ago. And so if you've been making music a while, or you got an old plugin that's a classic, something that you love, you may not be able to bring it into your 64-bit version. Fruity Loops does support 62 and 32-bit conversion, so I'm going to show you a little bit about that. Just to keep it quick, I put down here 2 tests. I put test 64, test 32, and we're going to open up Fruity Loops in the different versions. So this will be the 64-bit that I'm going to open up first. I'm running 64-bit Windows. There we go. All right, Fruity Loops opened up. I made this an empty template to open up quick. First thing you can do is if you just click right here, little question mark, go to About. It's going to tell you what version of Fruity Loops you're running if you don't know, or if you're just opening it up, you don't know which one you're running. Look right here, and you can see that this is 32-bit. Okay. When you're in 32-bit, your computer can use up to 4 gigabytes of memory for samples or RAM, and that may or may not make a difference. It can come critical. If you have 64-bit, it's unlimited, or how much ever RAM you have on your computer, whether it be 8 or 16, 32 gig or more. The first thing we're gonna do here is I'm gonna open up a plugin for you. I'm gonna show y'all something also. We're just gonna go to a plugin that would not work or wouldn't open on 64-bit because it's 30-bit. Now, this is a E maximizer here. I'm gonna open up another one here. I want you to pay attention up here on the left, the top left, when the plugin opens and it says so. When it opens the plugin, you can notice that it didn't have any message up here. If you look up here, it'll say bridged. If the plugin is not the same version as the software that you're running, it'll always bridge it, or it'll attempt to bridge it. So if this was a 64-bit plugin, it would say bridged, and it would bring it into the 32-bit. And these are old plugins that I have here, and you can see that when I open them up, this is how they look. This is the E3B maximizer, the BT Olakin Echo. So these are 2 old plugins that I would use on 32-bit plugin. Now I'm going to open up these same plugins on a 64-bit, and I'm going to show you the difference. And it's real important to note that if you have Fruity Loops icon on your desktop and you right click it and you go to open file location, all I did was right click and then open file location. If you can't do that, you can right click and go to properties or something. Then it should be here, open file location. We want to know where is the installer that this shortcut's running. So we open up the file location. You can see that it's in this folder right here. It's running this right here, Fruity Loops 64. Inside the folder also, you see another one, FL without the 64. This is 32-bit Fruity Loops. This is 64-bit. This is how you run 32 or 64-bit Fruity Loops. If you want 32-bit one, make yourself a shortcut. Put it up here on the desktop. If you already have the 32-bit on the desktop, put the 64 on the desktop, and vice versa. That's how you specify which which 32-bit or 64-bit program you're going to open. Same thing with machine. Like here's machine. If I went to open file location, or I got to the location that this file was installed in, you can see that it has a machine 2. This is 64-bit, and then it also has a x86. x86 always means 32-bit. So when you see x86, that means 32-bit. Even on your computer, if you have a computer and you go to C drive and you go to program files, you have program files, and you have program files x86, 32-bit plugins and programs, 64-bit programs. So we're going to open up the 64-bit one. I'm going to show you something here. I want to open up the same plugins that if I can remember, the E3 compressor. And I'm just going to check here real quick. And we're actually running the 32-bit again. Let me open up the 64-bit for y'all. And you can always check here to see which version that you're running. And I'm going to open up this one. Give this a moment here. Looks like I was doing a little video editing inside of Fruity Loops, which you can do if you didn't know. Alright, this is 64-bit. We're going to open up the same plugin, E3B compressor. Now when I opened up the plugin, let me just open it up again real quick. Pay attention up here on the top left when I open it up. When I opened it up, as you couldn't even read it, it says bridged, and it had to bridge the plugin. It would have attempted to bridge the plugin because it's 32-bit and this is 64-bit version. Usually this plugin wouldn't open at all on my computer. It used to be that when I would do my search thing, I would go here to add plugins, which is the add more plugins, and I would do that under the effects part. Actually, when I was doing effects, the plugin would come up, but sometimes it wouldn't be able to be located in the search. Sometimes it would come up, but it would never open. Sometimes it would freeze the Fruity Loops, and it was because it's 32-bit plugin. As you can see, I want you to take notice on the bottom. I have this thing attached to the plugin. This is very important. It's called Jbridge. It's a program that allows you to open up 32-bit plugins in a 64-bit program, and vice versa, if need be. So I'm able to actually bring this plugin into 64-bit Fruity Loops just because I have this Jbridge. It cost about, I think, $20 to $30 from the website. You can look it up on Google, and that's how you would get it. That's one of the ways that you could get it. Now, when I get up to about maybe about 100 subscribers or something, I'll share that with everybody, or I'll attempt to share it with everybody. All right, the next thing that I wanted to show y'all, well, actually, I think that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up here. But yeah, that's how I'm opening up 32 and 64-bit versions of the program. We're simply right-clicking on the desktop or going to the folder that the program's installed in and looking through it, and we're seeing that there's a 32-bit and a 64-bit version of that program. It's that way for a majority of programs. You want to make sure that you're always keeping your plugins organized. Put your 32-bit plugins in a folder, put your 64-bit plugins in a folder, and label them accordingly. That way you can always know where to find or search and locate your 64-bit, and then you can always locate your 32-bit. Invest into the Jbridger, or see if you can get that program. It's a good program. It's really a must-have. I didn't have it for a long time. I just got it back the other day, and now I'm able to open up my favorite plugin I grew up using, which is this MDX. This thing came out maybe 15 years ago. Can't load it up in 64-bit. Fruity Loops won't bridge it. It'll bridge some plugins. It won't bridge others. And when it does bridge a plugin, anytime it bridges a plugin, it adds CPU to your computer, which is going to slow you down and probably make your computer freeze up. So yeah, definitely want to get Jbridge. I can't tell you how many plugins that I'm in now that you can see that Jbridge is jumping in and allow them to be opened up in the 64-bit realm, when before they could only be opened up in 32-bit. I have the problem a lot with I'm going to show y'all something real quick before we go. I'm sorry for the long video, but this is next. Next, I have the 64-bit one. So when I bring it into my 64-bit Fruity Loops, it always wants to bridge itself. And before it would never bridge itself. It would actually just give me an error and not come up. I've been able to get it up now with the Jbridge and without the Jbridge. So that's just an example of how it's trying to convert the plugins from 64-bit to 32-bit. It doesn't know which one it is that you're trying to use, so it's trying to convert it for you. This is Cadillaktrackz. If you have any more questions, let me know. I try to go in and go over everything, and I also ran it a little bit more so that you could pick up some small things that you might not have known. Give me any questions or comments, leave them below. This is Cadillaktrackz 1.